but to understand the meaning, to really get at the meaning, and to get at the experience of being Vajrayogini, being in Vajrayogini's Pure Land. The only way that we can do that is to understand emptiness, because out of that emptiness we arise. But if we don't get that emptiness or a taste of it, we're still stuck in the world that we normally see and perceive.
Right.
So that's a method.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think like when you were saying it, I think I'm realizing, as in the example, for example, if somebody went out into the world and say they self-generated and
Well, talk about you. Talk about what you do. I mean,
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't mean to be kind of forceful like
No,
that.
it's
But
okay.
I mean, just not to just say, well, if somebody did this, but this is not about somebody else.
Right.
This is about your experience.
Right, and I am,
I'm tough.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no. I'm really I appreciate these conversations because it gets to the edge of the envelope. We're expanding our horizon of understanding of things, and if we just stay with the definitions and in a really nice environment where everybody agrees on a certain set of teaching, it's not so challenging. But if we're in a world when nobody gets this, it is more challenging. So I think okay, so
I mean, I lived my whole life practicing Buddhism, working, raising a family, not in temples, and I've been able to practice. And it's all about having the intention.
Yeah.
And it's anyway. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No.
but I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
That we just, I mean, again, it helps to know that if I'm out there working in the world,
Right.
I would practice like I was a building contractor.
Right.
I'd work on home.
Yeah.
I'd work for a client, and before I would go to work with the client, I'd say, what's most important here?
Yeah.
We have this whole is your happiness.
Yeah.
And to try to bring these principles into my life, to acquaint myself with virtue, as opposed to non-virtue.
Yeah, and I think I'm also accepting, that in highest yoga tantra we have purifying the migrator practice, right, where we emanate light to all living beings, and then instantly, they turn into the aspect of Venerable Vajrayogini, and it seems like, well, such a quick quantum technology, and I totally actually believe, at my heart, I completely believe every single thought is real, and every single thought has its own power, and I believe when we do that, this is actually somewhere in the quantum space, this is depositing credits and making it happen. It's happening. It just seems like when you come into this physical ordinary world, you go out and it seems like they haven't really been purified yet into the aspect of Venerable Vajrayogini. So what I think I'm accepting is that there's a time gap between this amazing quick quantum technology we do in 1.5 hours in our mind and what actually happens in the physical ordinary world, where to purify all migrating being might take God knows how long, thousands of years, but that's not so important because I think I don't know if this is entirely, I think this is probably true. I know that Buddhas of all three times, right, past, future, present, and beyond the ordinary sphere, time probably doesn't even exist. So whether it be like flash of a second or 10 eons or 20 eons, it's probably in some way like the same. But I'm not like a quantum physics person, so I don't really know. I don't want to just be making stuff up. But it seems like in some way that could happen. So what I think is going on is like in the space of the mind, I should just think that if I have the intention that I'm self-generating as a Venerable Vajrayogini and I'm purifying all worlds, and I do it in the temple, sitting down doing it, and then I go into the world, and if I find that people aren't in the aspect of Venerable Vajrayogini yet, I don't get disappointed, but I think that actually it's just taking its due time to get there, and in the physical world it just takes longer, and I should be happy that if that things have their own way of reconciling. So when I see things that just seem obviously non-virtuous or nonsensical, that I think karma has its own way of reconciling, and not get really disappointed. Because it seems you understand what I'm saying, right? Like it seems, okay, not really. I'm not explaining this properly.
Well, you're explaining things. So what I'm trying to say is, I should continue to have faith. I should always have faith that every single virtuous action that I do, and every single generation completion stage thing I do, is depositing a credit into this like virtue pool or something, that someday there's enough of collective merit to actually move the physical world to that direction, like more quickly. And just 1 second. There is no physical world external to your mind. There is no world out there external to your awareness of it.
Right.
There is no world out there external to your awareness.
Right. But
so if you want to change the physical world, change your mind, because your mind and the physical world are not two things.
Okay.
So if you want to make changes, understand your mind, and understand how we do create those changes, but it's not changes to a world that's out there, existing externally. That world, this is so fundamental. It's so fundamental, but there is no world out there external to your awareness of it. There is no world out there for me external to my awareness of it. So if I want to change, the world, I change my mind. They're not two separate things.
Okay, so can
They're
I just
not two
ask
separate
you
things.
an example?
So we know a lot about the external world. We have a lot of ideas about the external world.
Right.
And we think that we're separate from that.
Right.
And we're going to have to change that and move that around and develop that. And when we generate as Vajrayogini, and we appear in Vajrayogini's Pure Land, and all the beings in it are heroes and heroines, this is not external to our mind.
Okay.
This, when you walk out into the world, you walk out into anywhere. You're not walking out into a world separate from your mind.
Okay, I want to clarify this. Okay, I understand like intellectually what you're saying, but I want to just clarify. Like, say for example, I'm
not saying this for intellectual. Intellectual understanding doesn't have the power to remove our delusions and to remove our experience of suffering and samsara.
Right.
We have to get at it through intellectual understanding. But we have to actually apply what we've learned.
Okay, so let's apply what we've learned in this example, okay? So,
you're
trying
relentless.
to understand. It's not so easy. Okay.
No, it isn't easy. It isn't easy.
It isn't easy. Okay, and I know that if we were realized being and
forget about realized beings. We're just who we are right now.
Right.
There's no such thing as a realized being external to our awareness.
I just feel like there's a disconnect between what I do in my quick path sadhana and what I experience a lot of times in the world. And even though I know, the physical world is just an extension of my mind and is in fact my mind appearing, but there seems to be a time gap between what I just did in my session and what I observe outside. So like for example, say in the morning session, I generate and I'm Pure Land and everything, and in the temple I really do feel like it's Pure Land, so I don't have any problem with that. But say if I go into New York City in the afternoon and I see people yelling and screaming on the street, which is quite often, how do I have a pure view about that? How do I convince myself this is Pure Land?
I think we have to understand that we're spiritual babies.
Okay.
We're spiritual babies. We have no experience of we don't know. We're babies in this attempt.
Yeah.
We're babies. We can't do everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think for me, that's one of the things that have helped me to be able to just understand that because I'm a baby, in terms of spiritual development, we're embryos.
Okay.
We're embryos.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
And so if I have that image, then I can know what I can handle and know what I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not powerful enough to transform my experience into a pure experience.
Right. I'm not.
Whether it's here or anywhere.
Right.
But we can work on that.
Yeah.
That's the practicing. We work on that.
Yeah.
We work on that, and we understand the meaning of what we're doing. We understand the meaning of the three bringings. We understand that if we can do the first bringing, everything else comes easy. But what is that first bringing? That first bringing is bringing the death into the path of the truth body. What does that mean? What does spontaneous great bliss mean? What does the mind of bliss mean? What is the nature of our mind? What is bliss? And what is emptiness of all phenomena? What is conventional truth? What is ultimate truth? Where are we within that? We're babies. We're babies. Nobody in the world is training in this. We're training in this. So we can't expect anybody else that we come in contact with to know any of this. All we know is what's appearing to their mind is the same thing that's appearing to my mind. And that is inherent existence, ignorance of self-grasping. That is appearing to the mind of every living being. And what does that signify? It signifies continuous suffering, not only in this life, but in all future lives. So we can develop compassion. We can hear the teachings on compassion and understand that we're all, what's appearing to people's minds is the same that is appearing to my mind. We can't see their minds, but we know from their behavior that, and being born, taking rebirth as a human being, we know that birth has arisen, even though it's from virtuous causes, it has arisen from contaminated aggregates. So we're all experiencing, and we're in an ocean of suffering. What's appearing to our mind is self-grasping ignorance. Okay, we begin, and nobody learns about this. Nobody learns about it. The fortunate rebirth is being born a human, but meeting Kadam Dharma that has these teachings. So we can, because of our association of our practice in previous lives, the imprint has ripened for us in this life to continue to meet with Kadam Dharma, meet with a valid spiritual guide, and continue to train in our spiritual path. But we're just not even embryos. You know, we're not. So we get to hear. We get to hear these incredible teachings, and we're able to apply them. And but the perspective for me is that I have to see that I know absolutely almost nothing. All I know is that I've met a fortunate circumstance, and I have an opportunity to learn. This knowledge is not anything you're going to find in a university or a higher institution in this world, except the higher learning of Tantric and Kadam Lamrim. This is, if we want an education, this is where it is. If we want to learn, ordinary, use our intellect to learn ordinary stuff, that option is there. But for some reason, we've ended up here, and we know that
Yeah.
does not satisfy.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be able to begin to incorporate the meaning
Mm-hmm.
of what we're hearing,
Mm-hmm.
and to have the openness
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the recognition that we're babies
Mm-hmm.
in spiritual development. We know nothing,
Mm-hmm.
next to nothing about spiritual development. And so here we have this body of work and this teacher
Mm-hmm.
who's showing us
Mm-hmm.
the way.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think of every living being, you know, experiencing what appears to their mind is the same that appears to my mind. And my mind is not a hotbed of mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trust
So-
me, mine either.
So we can have to acknowledge that.
Right.
We have to be able to acknowledge that all the pressures that the world puts on us,
Mm-hmm.
all the expectations,
Mm-hmm.
to move in this direction, to always be to not even look at where everything is coming from.
Yeah.
That's the focus.
Yeah.
But we know deep down, and people are beginning to realize deep down,
Yeah.
that what they're doing and how they're relating to their world and the things in it
Yeah.
is creating one moment of hopelessness after another.
Yeah.
When you really look at it, when we can really be honest about it.
Yeah.
So Kadam Dharma comes along, or Buddha comes along, and says, this is why you're not happy.
Yeah.
Because Buddha knows, like the aspiration that every living being has is
Yeah.
to be happy and to not suffer.
Yeah.
And we're completely lost.
Mm-hmm.
And we happen to have been born and have connected to this, to where we can begin to grow and learn about the situation we're in,
Yeah.
and apply the methods
Yeah.
for it to completely 100% cease. And that is
Mm-hmm.
the meaning
Mm-hmm.
of identifying
Mm-hmm.
with the deity and the deity's Pure Land, because it has arisen, it has dissolved this contaminated life,
Yeah.
and has arisen through wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
The aggregates arisen through wisdom
Mm-hmm.
of a completely different world
Mm-hmm.
that has none of the is completely pure. We have no conception of what that is.
All right.
We don't. I mean,
We
or
don't.
let alone have an experience of it. But
Right.
we can begin to learn the meaning, and apply the meaning to our meditations and to our practice, and to know more and more and more why we do the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah, and actually, I mean, even to just come and think of it, just to even have the conviction that such pure lands do exist already, like, I think lighten up the hearts a lot, So, maybe, well, we still have to go through what we have to go through in the ordinary sense, but like Geshe-la has taught, you over time just, less and less have identification with it, and more have identification with the more pure states of being and pure land, and actually just through the virtue of doing that, you're actually able to give more light to all the people around you, because you're not in the midst of the mud with them, repeating the same sort of self-grasping behavior. But yeah, makes sense. We just have to, keep trying, nurturing the embryo.
I mean, if we care about people, if we care about giving people light,
Mm-hmm.
like you just said, I can't remember how you just said that,
Yeah.
but if, that's caring for others. We have
Yeah.
to recognize
Yeah.
that, if we look at, like, our bodhisattva vow,
Yeah.
I want to attain enlightenment
Yeah.
solely for the benefit of all living beings, solely that I have the ability to help others, which is
Yeah.
when that light represents to me being able to have the power and the ability
Yeah.
to really, really make a difference and help others.
Yeah.
And we can only do that by
Yeah.
becoming a Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And when we generate as Vajrayogini, we become Buddha Vajrayogini.
Yeah.
We bring that future result
Yeah.
into the path in our practice.
Yeah.
Just to recall that and to understand the meaning of that
Yeah.
helps us make an effort to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it touches us. And again, like you said, we are creating, this is a virtuous object
Yeah.
that is generating an effect similar to its cause in the future.
Yeah.
So if believing in karma
Yeah.
and believing in meditating on a virtuous object,
Yeah.
a virtuous object is an uncontaminated object, is a correct object.
Mm-hmm.
A correct object is renunciation. A correct object is the law of understanding karma.
Mm-hmm.
Correct object is dharma, is the generation state. These are objects that will generate an experience similar to itself in the future.
Yeah.
That's the meaning of bringing the future result of being a Buddha
Yeah.
now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
into the bring the future result into the present right now by imagining that we can have the idea of wanting to be able, but we're actually doing. We actually have to do it.
We have to do it.
We have to do it, and to understand the meaning. So
Yeah.
just to understand the meaning of what we do in meditation,
Mm-hmm.
what we do in prayers, what we do in these virtuous actions,
Mm-hmm.
the meaning and where they're going and what we're accomplishing by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going on in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going on in my mind. But what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
we're not necessarily doing exactly the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but we're moving in the same direction.
Right.
And every moment of consciousness, every moment is synonymous with path,
Mm-hmm.
because every moment of consciousness has an object appearing to it, and if that is a virtuous object,
Mm-hmm.
it's creating an effect in the future similar to it.
Right.
Every time.
Right.
That's called a supermundane path.
Right.
If it's a path, if it's an ordinary path, if we think if it's related to attachment,
Mm-hmm.
hatred, or ignorance,
Mm-hmm.
or all of the associated things with that,
Mm-hmm.
then that's the direction the mind goes. So it's
Yeah.
our samsara, it's our enlightenment, it's our emptiness.
Yeah.
We move,
Yeah.
and so to understand what's doing that is
Yeah.
the mind,
Right.
our mind, not our mind.
Right.
And to develop that perspective
Yeah.
again and again and again,
Yeah.
and really search for teachings on this. Who knows
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah.
But to understand the importance of it,
Yeah.
because if we don't,
Right.
we're just completely spinning down the drain,
Yeah.
and death is going to come, and our life is completely meaningless because we die without control.
Yeah.
And that death is not external to our mind. And in fact, we don't die. We're just immediately reborn,
Yeah.
depending on what ripens at a certain moment of consciousness
Yeah.
in the death process. So there's no death
Yeah.
from that point of view. We're just continually being reborn.
Yeah.
But we can end this. We can end this cycle,
Yeah.
and the mind has the power to do that.
Yeah.
And the more we understand our mind,
Yeah.
the more we understand about that power
Yeah.
and how to use it
Yeah.
to move along. I mean, in dharma, to move
Yeah.
in dharma.
Yeah.
That's what we have to cut through. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Manjushri's sword. That's the
Yeah.
wisdom
Yeah.
of knowing what to practice and what to abandon.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. 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 I'm getting it more and more. Basically, as we increase the power of our mind, the more quickly we can purify our
you
surroundings.
say I.
The more quickly.
Because when you say we, we're talking about something external to us. Say I.
Yeah.
The more I.
We is I, because we're all one.
No, we're not all one.
We're not all one? I thought we were all one.
No.
There is no division,
There's no
really.
oneness.
Mm.
Oneness is an intellectually formed illusion. Oneness, this is an idea, a belief that's external, that is not separate from our mind. What is that belief? What do you mean we're all one? I mean, we have to question our beliefs and what we think all the time. We attribute a meaning to an idea
Mm-hmm.
that is completely distorted and mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom, we have to, wisdom is a mental factor in our mind. And we can develop that. We're taught what wisdom is. And wisdom gets it right every time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really challenged. I mean, we really get challenged in terms of having to look at look at our beliefs and look at the way we think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And really kind of just align and be able to understand from our own experience of seeing that, whether it's true or not,
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I take difference to the statement "we're not all one" because I think that is like almost most well recognized spiritual phrase. We're all
Just
one.
because billions of people believe
No,
it doesn't mean that it's true.
But I actually feel like it is true. I feel like we're just projections into the conventional three-dimensional world, individual bodies, and all of this. But the oneness is really talking about the mind. The mind domain that projects
you
this.
believe in a mind that's external to your awareness of it.
No,
Everybody participates in.
No. I don't believe that. I believe this mind is a much bigger mind than the mind that people think my body, the mind in my body, the mind in your body, her body's mind. All of this is one mind. It's just taking little allocations in different beings, but it's just all one. It's all this big mind, and as we individually take responsibility to heal our individual stake, our individual percentage of this bigger mind, it helps the bigger mind to move forward in a much better state. And then as a result, the external environment we see will be much more pure. So that's how I think about it. Because I'd study some other spiritual science thing that gets into all of this in kind of a sciencey kind of terms, and but I feel like it's really saying the same thing, that basically from the mind comes materialization, manifestation, and if we want to heal the manifestation, we heal it on the basis of mind, and it's a much deeper healing than just trying to heal it at surface level, like how when they design computer software, it's like